Okay, we're back.
Hey.
Hey.
Welcome back to YouTube.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a while.
Long awaited.
I guess what we're talking about today is you just recently turned 30,
I did.
and we're going to talk about kind of like a reflection on your 20s. Okay.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Just like general question.
Okay.
Tell me like a few things you learned in your 20s.
I'm not gonna lie. This feels like I'm in like a fucking therapy session right now. It feels like
Wait, maybe?
I'm telling you.
Should I get paid for this?
It feels like I'm my therapist and he's recorded me because I have some serious fucking issues and he needs to like tell the cops about. Okay, so hello YouTube. Yeah, so I just turned 30 and I thought it would be cool to talk about just things I learned and just pass along to if someone's 20 and just things you can do to help you be happier in life.
Pass the wisdom. Free wisdom being
Yeah.
spread.
Okay, exactly. I think for a long period of my like late 20s I was pretty unhappy. And so I think if I could have like 6 points that I could talk about that I took away was one, be happy, and we can talk about what things I do now to try to make me a little bit happier. It's figure out your career, less social media, read more, and so find out like one sport that you like, pray more, and I guess just with the whole be happy thing, focus on yourself. Like don't worry about the outside noise, don't worry about what other people are thinking, just whatever you want to do, focus on your goals, and then leave everything else to the side.
Okay, can I have those notes? We're gonna go through those because it's a generic answer. So we're gonna go through these.
Yeah.
How do you just be happy? How are you just decide one day that you're just
To
happy?
be happy. Okay, so I think for a long period of time during my 20s, I just didn't know how to be happy. And I think it had a lot to do with just comparing with what's going on with other people. It's, I think, being ungrateful. And so I think a big portion of that was social media. And so I needed to just remove myself from that. And so I think the first thing that I started doing was like trying to use less social media. Okay. And I think I started to journal more. So I think what that did was it actually, one thing I would do is every time I journal, I write down 3 things I'm happy for, like as at that day. So that could be like my career, that could be, I don't know, the way I looked in the mirror that morning. It could be like a sick combo I hit. I don't know. It could be anything like that but it's just reminding yourself that it's more than the thought you're stuck in your head with. Okay. And then also, I started to read more. So shout out to Ryan Holiday. I think I started to meditate more and I needed something to like help guide that aspect of my life. And so he had a book called Stillness is the Key. You know, sponsorships, Ryan Holiday. There's one other book I started to read. It was called, I think it's literally called Be Happy. Somewhere here is a book called...
Okay, but these are like books that you're reading now.
These are books I'm reading now.
But what did you, like, give me one book recommendation that you read during your 20s.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't read much during my 20s. These are lessons I've learned as at 30 that I wish I had applied when I was in my 20s.
Okay, that's right.
And I think if I would have done that, I think my outlook on life would have been much better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Why does it feel like you're about to like take notes?
I'm not.
Okay.
Just going through these cap points
Yeah.
that you have.
Okay. Cap points? Alright, that's interesting.
And I can't read what you wrote, so this is great. Less social media.
Yeah.
Figure out your career.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Do you have any advice on that? Like figuring out your career?
Yeah, I think if you just take a step back and you just focus on how you're doing, because I think again sometimes what happens is like you might be doing great in your career. I'm not saying that I am. Like I think I'm doing okay. But sometimes you'll compare yourselves to people in like a completely different career and be like, oh man, like he's doing X, Y, Z. I'm doing this. Well, I should be doing that as well. And so it like distracts you from your goals within your career. Figure out what you want to do. Figure out how you want to excel in your specific goals and just worry about that. Because if your end goal is, for example, money will come as long as you're doing a good job in your specific role. So don't worry about the outside noise. Don't worry about like who's doing what at this moment in time. If you know you have specific goals, just focus on those and eventually you'll make good money. And I don't think that's cap. I think that'll make genuine sense. I think a lot of people, if they make the right decision in their 20s, if they study hard, and they pay attention and do the right things, by the time you're like 30, by the time you're 35 sometimes, you will make good money. So the goal should just be like,
okay, but there's like so much out there. How
Yeah.
do you decide? How do you know what you like?
how do you know what you like?
Yeah. How do you figure it out?
That's a very tough question. Okay, I think what you should do is I think you need to surround yourself with people who can give you general advice on their careers, right? Okay, whether that be you want to go into finance or you want to go into like medicine or PhD or whatever it is, I think you talk to people and get a sense of what they do and what their days are like, right? So that way you can get a sense of, okay, do you like this or not? And I think once you've done that, it makes it easier for you to figure out, okay, like, do you think you'd be good at that? So it has a lot to do with you actually talking to people. And, you know, it doesn't just have to be like your family and friends. You can look up people on LinkedIn or Instagram, but just message someone and get a sense of like, hey, can we just get a coffee chat and just chat and just, I want to figure out what your day is like and if I would be a good fit or not. Is that good?
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. Good job. Yeah.
Kelly. But also, you know how some kids, like I feel like they just want to like go into social media and YouTube. I think that's fine. Like I tell people like, man, like you probably should have a Twitch channel because some people just enjoy making videos and all that stuff. But in my opinion, and maybe that's because I'm trying to get risk averse. You know, you should at least have like a degree. It doesn't have to be the fanciest degree, but you should at least have like an undergrad that you finish and then do whatever you want. So at least you have something to fall back on, right? Because like, what's the percentage success of like someone on YouTube? Yeah.
Cool. Okay. What do you think some useful skills are to develop in your 20s?
Okay, so one is definitely being able to concentrate. Okay, that sounds like basic, but some people really do have a hard time concentrating. And I don't think it's like ADHD. I think it's just we live in a world where social media just makes us so used to being able to scroll every like 10 or 15 seconds and like TikTok now. So I think if you're one of those people who can sit down and just focus for, you know, an hour, 2 hours at a time, that is an incredibly useful skill because you get so much done as compared to if you're working for 10 minutes, you get up, you come back down. Like I feel like something that should take an hour ends up taking 3 hours for some people. And so how do you do that, right? So one is, I think it goes back to like, if you're not on social media as much, it just helps the way you think. Like I for sure think I went through like social media withdrawal. Like I think that's an actual thing. So read more. And it doesn't have to be like you don't have to read this. It can be anything. Like I'm also reading The Road. That's pretty good. Good job, whoever wrote that book. But yeah, just read. Like spend less time watching TV. Spend less time on social media. Just stop looking at stuff and actually reading it. The fact that you can actually think.
Passive participation, I think. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like take an active role.
What is that?
Like passively, you're just like looking at things. No?
Good job.
Sure.
Yeah. Killed it. So I think that's definitely a skill. Being able to concentrate, and I think reading definitely helps with that. Another is a sport. I think as you get older, like I think like 30-year-olds, I haven't seen that many 30-year-olds. Actually, the guy in the gym was in really good shape, but you know, you should have a sport that you can fall back on in your 30s and your 40s. It can be golf, it can be anything, but it should be something that keeps you physically active. If you just like going to the gym, that's fine too. But yeah, have something that just helps you be active and get outside, and not just stay at home all day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So focus,
sports, pray if you're religious. Can I say that on YouTube?
Or spiritual.
Or spiritual, whatever.
Pray to the universe.
Yeah, but like, you know, just spend some time in your day just thinking about the fact that there might be something out there.
Meditate. What was that book that you got? How to Focus? Something like
I don't know.
That basically every page talks about how to meditate.
So I think like meditation or something spiritual, meditate, but like spend some time sitting there and just thinking about something other than your goals, just like trying to calm yourself down. And for me at least, I think if I meditate, which I never really do, but I will, or if I pray, I think it helps me just calm down. And sometimes I need that. Sometimes I feel like I'm just wired and energized and I need to just like control my breath and it helps.
So I guess my next question is, give people some advice on how to save money in your 20s.
It's a great question. Something that I didn't do until like I turned 28. But okay, so I think my situation was pretty unique. I think same as yours, right? Because so for those who don't know, like so I live in Canada and I live in Toronto, but my family doesn't live here. So I'm a first generation Canadian, right? And so I think some of my like advice might apply to you, might not, but I guess we'll see. So for me, I think one thing that made it hard to save was rent, right? So like a portion of your cash, no matter what, because I didn't have anyone here. I came here for university, and so you know, one of the smarter things I might should have done was probably like buy a property sooner, but whatever. But yeah, I think, you know, for someone, if you're Canadian and you live in Canada and you have family here, stay at home as long as you can. Like save up. I'm not saying like don't spend any money, like, you know, spend a little bit of cash on yourself and have fun. But I think, you know, like rent in Toronto is what, 2,200 right now? And so yeah, like that's a big, for some people that's a big percentage of their paycheck. So, and what, like times 12, even 2,000 is 24,000 that you could just be saving. So try to stay at home as long as you can, because that way you get to save that extra cash. And then when you eventually move out, hopefully you can then buy a property rather than just renting and paying for someone else's mortgage. The other piece of advice I have is, you know, try to buy a property as soon as you can. Oh, so for example, like I bought my first property when I was 29. And looking back, I did have a chance when I was in London to like get a small apartment then. When I didn't, and I spent the money on like motorbikes and cars and stupid things I probably shouldn't be spending my money on. And so I regret that, because I think that would have been a good experience early on. And for example, things that I might have to figure out now, like let's say if I were to move, I would have to rent this place and figure all that out. I could have figured those admin tasks out much sooner in my life. So yeah, like I feel like stay at home as long as you can. You know, you don't have to blow your entire monthly paycheck. Like figure out a budget and stick to it and save money every month. And sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it will be difficult to actually save, but your goal should be that, hey, I want to save X amount and try to work towards that. And if that means you check your budget every day or every like 3 days to make sure you're actually hitting your milestones and you're actually saving a certain amount, do it. But I think it is important for people to learn to save as quickly as possible, because it helps you later on in life. So, does that answer your question? Okay. Yeah? Okay. Do you think like it like makes you wonder like, oh, should I have saved? Is that what?
I mean, I don't know. You always think that.
Yeah.
Just never. When you're 22, I guess you don't think about these things.
Yeah, but you're in school, so I guess it. But see, like for you and I, like it's the same thing. Like it's not like we have much of a choice. Like your family moved here after you did. Yeah. It's not like you could have stayed anywhere. You had to rent. So it's harder.
Then, but
I guess now you
stayed in London.
So that's different. Like that's yeah, I guess that's. But yeah, like I think, you know, use your family as much as you possibly can.
That's what they're there for.
And then if for example, if you were in a situation like me or the therapist, you know, it's not that, and you are someone who doesn't have family here, or you aren't in a position to buy a place, don't just get a 1-bedroom apartment. Probably you should like rent with someone, right? Because that way you're just getting to save more of your cash. Like I know it seems good and it seems nice, like yeah, you know, to have your own space, but I mean technically it's not your space, it's someone else's mortgage that you're paying. So if that means for a few years you live with a good friend, that's okay. Like it is what it is, but it'll set you up for later part of your life. So like you know what I used to hate? I look back now. I would like clean the condos. Like I would keep them clean, but it wasn't.
You were living there.
I know, but it wasn't just clean. It was like deep cleaning, and I think back, I was like, why the fuck would like?
Yeah, but still, you're living there.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
It's
but
technically like I don't know. I understand that it's not really your place.
Yeah.
But your place for the time being. I don't want to live in a shithole.
I mean, that, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, again, like deep cleaning, sure.
Yeah. So.
Once in like a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I have like 3 like lightning round questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Okay. In the spirit of reflection.
Sure.
What's the one thing you regret?
I don't think I can say that on. One thing I regret is letting other people's opinion of me impact me.
Okay.
And how I react towards other people.
Okay. Biggest highlight of your 20s?
Biggest highlight of my 20s is making it to my 30s. Is that a cop-out?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, if that's your answer, that's your answer.
Biggest highlight of my 20s was, I don't know, becoming a CPA.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Honestly, disappointed that you didn't say meeting me, but okay.
Okay, like, we can. They don't know what's going on here. Someone might start asking questions about this. So.
One thing you would tell I guess we already talked about this. What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
I would tell him not to worry so much.
Okay. Yeah. And one last one. What's the one thing you look forward to in your 30s?
Just being happier.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah.
I think that's a sick answer now. Yeah.
Alright, are you gonna write me a check, or
I guess I
how
can.
are you paying this
Alright, so thank you, YouTube. I think we're gonna try to make more videos, but the whole point of this was, you know, like I said, sometimes you get so lost in what's going on in the world that you end up just being unhappy, and that's not okay. And I think you need to find a way to make yourself happy. And if this video helps, good job. Yeah. It is what it is. All right, well, we'll see you next week.